Today we'll be replacing the oil filter housing gasket. When the oil filter gasket fails, the oil just drips down onto the serpentine belt and the belt gets chewed up, get into the timing cover, and that can really ruin the engine. I'm also going to replace my VANOS solenoid as a preventative measure. They have a tendency to fail on the N52 engines, but mine is working absolutely fine. I'm only replacing them as a preventative maintenance item. You can see I already have the intake manifold removed. That's because I'm changing to a 3-stage intake manifold. Removing the intake manifold is not required. The oil filter housing are held on by 3 E10 bolts, one here, another one here which is accessed from below, and another one here. There is also a pressure sensor switch connected to the oil filter housing, which are already unplugged, and a upper radiator hose. Since we are only replacing the oil filter housing gasket, we can leave this hose connected. Just unbolt the housing and replace the gasket. Okay, so the longest bolt is on the top left corner. The shorter one is on the bottom right corner. Alright, I found out that the E10 screw that's accessed from down below is blocked by this radiator hose, and there are 2 ways to remove it. One of them is to use a E-Torx box wrench to get it out, but even if I do that, there is no way for me to get it in and properly torque it. The other way is to remove this coolant flange. There is an O-ring attached to the flange, so you need to replace the O-ring as well. And actually this plastic flange is prone to failure, so there is actually aluminum replacement products out there, and I just ordered one. So that's gonna be a project for another day. Alright, just unplug this hose here. When you unplug this, coolant will flow out. Make sure you drain the coolant before you unplug the hose. Make sure you have your towel ready. I did spill some coolant onto the serpentine belt. Immediately after that, I rinsed the belt off with a fair amount of water. So hopefully there is no coolant residue, because if there is coolant residue on the serpentine belt, it can cause the belt to slip. Alright, the bolt is out. The shortest one is the one accessed from below. Now let's put in the new gasket. The bolts for the oil filter housing is tightened to 22 Newton meters or 194 inch-pounds. Now let's change the oil filter. Alright, on the oil filter there is a small O-ring here and a large O-ring that we can replace. And then we just pop the filter back in and put the filter on the vehicle, torque to 25 Newton meters. Next, we'll replace the VANOS Solenoids. So VANOS is basically BMW's variable valve timing system, which is controlled by those 2 solenoids. And I'm replacing them just as preventative maintenance. The 2 solenoids are identical, and they are both held on by 10mm bolts. So this is what it looks like with one of the solenoids removed. To disconnect the electrical connector, just push on the metal tab and pull the connector out. people recommending replacing the solenoids one at a time so that you don't accidentally drop a screw or something through the hole. And this is what the solenoid looks like. There is a cylindrical ring black in color and an O-ring which is gray in color. If the O-ring is stuck in the timing chain cover, just use a pick tool and carefully remove it. The bolt is tightened down to 9 Newton meters. Alright, let's focus. That's what it looks like with the two solenoids replaced and the electrical connector reconnected. And that concludes the replacement of the VANOS solenoids. That's it, everyone. Have a nice day and happy DIYing!